Could he ask the doubt now?
Hello, sir. This is John P. John here. I think, can you please unmute yourself? Okay. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your time on this day. I know that you are very busy with all your commitments, but
not this morning.
So much.
Namaskara, Janardhan avrige.
And this is Sunil Koshi from Mug to Mic, who is the music director.
Hello, sir.
Namaskara.
Hello.
Recording in progress.
Hi, Srinath.
Namaskara, Janardhan.
Namaskara. Namaskara. Thank you for making this.
Oh, no, my pleasure, sir.
Hi, Somshekhar. Vijil.
Hi, Somshekhar.
I think you are muted, Somshekhar.
It's fine now. You can hear. No audio is not a problem now. John.
Sir, good afternoon to everybody. Namaste,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaskara, sir.
So here maybe John.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ತೆ. ಶ್ರೀನಾಥ್ ಅವರೇ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Srinath, you are joining from Bangalore or elsewhere?
Sir, I'm in Dubai, sir.
Oh, you are in Dubai. Okay.
The director, Professor Pratima Murthy, who was expected to be at this meeting, is currently held up with another BBMP meeting and is on her way back. She's expected to join, hopefully by the time, well before her address. We were just waiting for a little while for her to join, but
Video.
Yeah. So maybe perhaps we could go ahead and start. We've been informed that she is on her way and she would join us soon. I would request Prateek, Dr. Prateek, from NIMHANS, who is a compere for today's function, to get on with the proceedings. Thank you, Prateek.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all. I am Dr. Prateek, and I welcome Mr. Javikal Srinath, our distinguished chief guest, Dr. Pratima Murthy, who will be joining us shortly, the director of NIMHANS, Dr. Y.C. Janardhan Reddy, head of Department of Psychiatry, NIMHANS, Dr. Kiran Kumar PK, president of IPS KC, Dr. Somshekhar Bijal, general secretary, IPS KC, and Mr. Sunil Koshi, co-founder from Mug to Mike, all my other senior faculty members and members of the group from Mug to Mike, all who have joined us, are music and poetry enthusiasts, are crusaders of positive mental health, are online participants. I welcome you all to today's program on the role of music and poetry in creating awareness about mental health and as vehicles to reach out to the society. This is a collaborative awareness about mental health and an endeavor by the Department of Psychiatry, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, and the Indian Psychiatric Society, Karnataka chapter, to commemorate the World Mental Health Day, which is observed each year on the 10th of October across the globe, with this year's themes by the WHO, or the World Health Organization, being Mental Health for All, Let's Make It a Reality, and the World Federation of Mental Health, or WFMH, stating this year's theme as Mental Health in an Unequal World. Before we proceed further, I would like to make some housekeeping announcements. Kindly keep your audios muted at all times, and please, I request all the participants who have joined us online to express their views on the above stated themes as service providers, service consumers, and as citizens of the country. A selection of these chats by the participants will be read out subsequently to empower and encourage public engagement in the field of mental health. So I earnestly request all online participants to talk about their emotions regarding mental health and the themes that we have discussed in the chat box, and we would encourage this participation. Words are a window to one's mind, and when arranged over a symphony or a rhythm, they become music and poetry, and they become beautiful visions. We all have felt a chuckle run across our lips or a warm tear trickle down our face as we listen to a Kishore Kumar song or a Beatles song, because that is how powerfully emotive music is. As the great William Shakespeare once said, "If music be the food of love, play on." On that note, I request Dr. Suresh Badamat, Professor of Psychiatry, Head of Telemedicine and Forensic Psychiatry Unit, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Suresh. It's my pleasure to welcome you all on this musical celebration today. As you know, this year's theme is Mental Health Care for All. Let's make it a reality by the WHO. So, on this day, I would like to bring about a small favorite quote which says that true beauty of music is that it connects people, it carries a message, and we, the musicians, are the messengers. This is said by Mr. Roy. Now, on this today's special occasion, we have our esteemed guest, and I would like to bring to your kind attention of one of the important day which I still remember on 1996 Titan Cup. Against Australia, India was in a very bad shape actually at that time. We required somewhere around 52 runs. So our chief guest, Mr. Javikal Srinath, Arjun Awardee, and former Indian cricketer, made an important long of 6, which was still, I remember, if I remember that and I see those videos on YouTube, we feel the rush now also. And in that, what we call it as a pressure day, Sir was able to deliver and he took our team to the victory. So we welcome you all, and especially for our Javikal Srinath sir. And now I would like to invite and also to welcome Mr. Koshish and also his wife, Mrs. Archana. Both are basically the co-founders for Mug to Mic. This is an NGO which basically brings the people who are passionate about singing to the mic. And actually, Sunil Koshi is is an engineer and turned music director. And at this point of time, he is the main brain behind this project. So I welcome you, sir, also. And my pleasure to welcome our own distinguished director, Professor Pratima Murthy. She is a dynamic lady, and she has been the crusader with regard to human rights of persons with mental illness. She had brought a lot of changes with regard to mental hospitals across India. Since 1999, she's been working for the persons with mental illness and human rights. And next, I would like to welcome my teacher and mentor, Dr. Y.C. Janardhan Reddy, the head of our department and also heading OCD clinic since past almost 25 years. So welcome you, sir. And now I also would like to welcome our IPS president, Dr. Kiran Kumar. He has traveled all the way from Bangalore to be here with us. He is a professor of psychiatry in AJ Medical College, Bangalore, and currently IPS president. And also joining with us, Dr. Somashekar Bijal. He is a professor of psychiatry heading the Department of Psychiatry from Gadag Institute of Medical Science. He is a dynamic leader working for IPS. And also our own teacher, Dr. John P. John. He is another person. And I just would like to mention, I used to stay below his house. I never knew he was a singer. And I used to hear one or the other day, some melodious song used to come. I used to think it may be played on a radio or maybe something else. But today I come to know that he is a beautiful singer. And I think Sunil Koshi has launched him actually today. So all the credit goes to him. So that is very important here. And at last, I would like to welcome our junior resident, Malvika Nagpal. And she's our junior resident, has written a poem. I also welcome all the public here and also user group, media, and also IPS member, various other psychiatrists, faculty of NIMANS, and various other mental health professionals on this special day. Ladies and gentlemen, on this today, I warmly welcome you all for this day. Over to you, Dr. Pratik.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to request Dr. Y.C. Janardhan Reddy, Professor and Head of Department of Psychiatry, NIMHANS, to address the gathering.
Good afternoon to everybody. On World Mental Health Day 2021, the theme of which is Mental Health in an Unequal World, Department of Psychiatry, led by Professor John P. John, along with, or maybe in collaboration with from Mug to Mic, I'm told a group of bathroom singers led by Archana and Koshi, and the IPS Kannada branch are initiating a public program on the role of music and poetry in creating awareness about mental illness. I am no expert on music and poetry, least of all the music and poetry in English and Hindi. But I know, for example, music, poetry, and arts can make a difference. People who know some Kannada would know that, a movie made long time back in 1960s called Sharapanjara, which highlighted the role of expressed emotions in the relapse of psychotic illness as such an influence even now is being talked about very frequently. So in general, the field of arts has a potential to increase the awareness about mental illnesses. The mental illness affect nearly 13% of our population, constituted mostly by depression, anxiety, alcohol, substance abuse, and you can add to that list, increased rates of suicide. Now, despite such a high prevalence of mental illnesses, there's a huge treatment gap. Nearly 80% of the people don't get any treatment. And to this, you can add that most of the treatment is confined to urban areas like Bangalore, and people in the periphery, even if they do get treatment, they don't get the quality treatment. We pass them on what is the minimum quality that one can really give. This huge treatment gap is due to many factors. Some of them are lack of knowledge, stigma, discrimination, but poor access to mental health care in an unequal world that we live in is a major contributor. We know that mental illness are the product of neurobiological, genetic vulnerability, and environmental interaction. But when it comes to mental illnesses, access to care is heavily influenced by unequal nature of the world we live in. It applies to many medical disorders as well, but oftentimes we forget that mental illness are also medical disorders, but the ones which have great stigma and discrimination. something which was similar to leprosy and tuberculosis some decades ago. So this disparity has been brought to the fore by the COVID-19 pandemic with its toll on psychological health in general, but also its effect on those who are already suffering from mental illnesses prior to the onset of COVID. This public initiative is one of the many efforts that may go a long way in increasing awareness and reducing stigma and discrimination. Today, there is a screening of an original Hindi song on mental health and release of 2 poems penned by my colleagues, Dr. Janpi John and my student, Nagpal. On behalf of NIMHANS, I invite Mr. Javikal Srinath, former Indian cricketer and a well-known personality in India. Let me say a famous Kannadiga, also fondly called Mysore Express, to be the chief guest of this program. His presence and support, I am sure, would greatly enhance the noble cause behind this activity. I also invite Dr. Kiran Kumar, President of the IPS, Dr. Bizel, my colleague, and our beloved Director, Professor Pratima Murthy, to address us on this important occasion. I also welcome once again Mr. Koshi and Archana to this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now move on to the most anticipated part of today's program, which is the first ever public screening of the original Hindi song Tum Hi Saath Rehna Mere, which was formally released yesterday by Shri Baswaraj Bomai, the Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Shri Mansukh Mandviya, the Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, Dr. K. Sudhakar, Minister of Health and Family Welfare and Medical Education, Government of Karnataka, and the Honorable Members of Parliament, Shri P.C. Mohan, Dr. Subhash Ramrao Bhamre, and Shri Tejasvi Surya, yesterday on the eve of World Mental Health Day 2021. The above song, Tum Hi Saath Rehna Mere, is a collaborative initiative of NIMHANS and from Mug to Mic, and I request the talented coordinators of the same, Dr. John P. John, Professor of Psychiatry, NIMHANS, and Mr. Sunil Koshi, co-founder from Mug to Mic, to give us the background and aim of this beautiful piece of art.
A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm John P. John. I'm a professor of psychiatry at NIMHANS. Respected Mr. Javikal Srinath, our beloved director, Professor Pratima Murthy, Dr. Janardhan Reddy, head of the Department of Psychiatry, Dr. Kiran Kumar, President, Indian Psychiatric Society, Karnataka Chapter, Dr. Somshekar Bijal, Secretary, Indian Psychiatric Society, Karnataka Chapter, Dr. B.M. Suresh, Dr. Malvika Nagpal, and my dear friend Sunil Koshi, and all the amateur singers who have participated in this very noble initiative, all the members of the public who have spared their valuable time to join in this sort of novel initiative here and spend some time with us, and members of the public, the print and online media, and staff and students of NIMHANS. Of course, we are grateful to all of you for sparing your valuable time, to attend this public engagement program conducted by NIMHANS and the Indian Psychiatric Society Karnataka Chapter to focus on the role of music and poetry in creating awareness about mental health and the role that the society can play in improving the lot of people who suffer from various kinds of mental health issues. And this is an initiative which we have planned in connection with the World Mental Health Day 2021. Now, we all know that mental health disorders are caused by disturbed functioning of the brain in the response of the brain to various environmental situations. These disorders can occur even in people without pre-existing mental health disorders. This is, for example, a person with asthma can get exposed to an acutely bad environmental condition, and even a person without asthma can experience breathing difficulties. Of course, a person with asthma can experience more severe breathing difficulties, which might require more protracted interventions, more intensive interventions. But even the person without asthma who experience breathing difficulties in an adverse environment might require to be taken out of that environment and given some support, even if sometimes even medications for a short duration, other interventions to help them come out of that. So mental health disorders are also similar. Even people without psychiatric disorders can develop mental health issues in response to difficult, stressful situations in the environment. So, however, unlike other medical conditions, mental health disorders, people who suffer from mental health disorders have a disadvantage, which they share with some other medical conditions like cancer, perhaps a few other infections. And that is, they experience, along with the symptoms of the underlying condition, they also experience shame, fear, anger, disappointment, about how the society might construe their condition. So they might, move away from the society, aloof. They may not feel comfortable discussing about their problem with their immediate family members, their friends, or even healthcare professionals, to the extent that they suffer in silence. And what is the root cause of this? The root cause of this is not the people who suffer from these conditions, but the societal response to these conditions. So what is the solution to this? The solution to this is to help the society understand the real facts about mental health disorders, about what the people who suffer from mental health disorders expect out of them, and what is the role that the society can play to improve the lot of people who suffer from these conditions to the extent that they now feel more comfortable talking about mental health issues, talking about their difficulty in dealing with various circumstances, be it people who do not have pre-existing mental health disorders or even those who suffer from various psychiatric disorders. Now, how do we get this message across to the society? Of course, over the years, over the last more than a century, we have been making efforts to educate public, through various kinds of public engagement programs. And we would have conferences, meetings, and all that, and we would, many of us would try and impress upon the public about the fact that these are medical conditions and there's a role that the society can play in making their lot better. But perhaps, I think, to emphasize and take this initiative further forward, we thought that music can play an important part. And when we looked around, we found that there's hardly any initiative using music which has caught the attention of the public, which can help the public in having a better awareness of the lived experiences of people with mental disorders and what they expect out of the society. And that is where this collaboration that we have had with Sunil Koshi, a wonderful human being, a person with a great a sense of social responsibility, along with following the passion that he has on music and creating and making music more public and more accessible to even people who are not trained musicians. So he has taken it upon himself as his life's mission, to popularize music. And he has also worked on many social causes in the past, and tried to create public awareness through through music. And so with this collaboration, we attempted to develop a Hindi song to reach out to the maximum number of people. And, and subsequently, of course, Sunil will talk about the development of the song, but to create, to provide the themes for the Hindi lyrics, I penned down a few words in English, which came out in the form of a poem, which would also be sort of released subsequently by our honorable chief guest, along with the poem penned by our dear student, Dr. Malavika Nagpal, a very powerful poem on suicide. So this musical journey, which has lasted for the last 3 months, we have worked hard on this, has been a hugely gratifying one. And we hope that all of us would partner each other in helping to reach this message across to the society, and especially people who suffer from various kinds of mental health issues, so that it resonates with them and makes them feel that, you know, the society understands them and they feel more comfortable in coming out with their problems and seeking help without suffering in silence and delaying their treatment. Now, over to you, Sunil, for you know, telling us about the musical part of it and the development of the song.
Thank you so much, Dr. John. Respected Javikal Srinath, sir, Director of NIMHANS, Dr. Pratima Murthy, President of Indian Psychiatric Society, Dr. Kiran Kumar, HOD of Psychiatry, Dr. Janardhan Reddy, Dr. Somshekhar Bijil, Dr. John P. John, Dr. Suresh Badamat, and all the illustrious doctors, my friends at From Up to Mike, and all the lovely audience and media who've joined in. Well, I realized very early in life that music did something to me. My dad would play the cassette if he wanted to wake me up. Otherwise, I wouldn't wake up. And when a song is playing, I somehow connected very deeply. I couldn't study if a song is playing. So music was doing something to me inside. And later on, when I started From Up to Mike, I saw that when people sing, they escape into a realm of happiness and absolute peace. For example, when I practice, when I do my riyaz and put my tanpura and sing sa, I feel I get connected with God or something divine or something deep rooted within. I don't know if it's, of course, something to do with the brain. I think there's some deep connection. That is why music is used in shlokas in a temple, probably, in hymns in a church, azan from a mosque, and different forms of worship also use music. A mom singing a lullaby to a child. Let me confess you, I wanted to become a doctor, but I couldn't. So I feel proud and at the same time, really humbled to be in the midst of legends and illustrious doctors over here and to have collaborated with NIMHANS. I made songs when I felt I couldn't express through words. And beyond that, I thought a song could express. And I knew Dr. John P. John since the last 8 years. He was a guest at one of our events at From Up to Mike. When we reconnected about 3 months back, I discovered that Dr. John sings. That was an accidental discovery. And then Doctor really sings well. He's an excellent singer with a baritone voice. And I expressed this desire of doing a song on mental health, and Doctor was very supportive and he said, let's do it. And then when we looked at a time frame, October 10th is World Mental Health Day. So we started working on the theme. Based on the theme, Dr. John wrote a poem, a very lovely poem, which was shared with the lyricist Sahil Sultanpuri. And he penned the lyrics. That took time. We had to get it corrected to bring it in alignment with the theme, as well as, like Doctor says, to express lived experience of a patient. I think that way the song, we put in efforts to make sure the song is different and really connects with people. Then once the lyrics was done, I composed the music. The song was made over different regions. The instruments were recorded in Cochin. The singers were recorded in Bangalore, and we shot here. And the final mix and mastering was done in Hariharanji's studio in Mumbai by Saibu V. Simon. And I hope this song strikes a chord with all of you, as it's going to be first publicly screened by Javikal Srinath sir, and it also touches a chord with millions of others. And I hope this is just the beginning of our journey towards the cause of mental health. And I would love to be around to sing and create more music for NIMHANS and for all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. John and Mr. Sunil. Now I request our honorable chief guest, Mr. Javikal Srinath, to launch the song Tum Hi Saath Rehna Mere for public viewership.
What do I have to do? Just press some play or something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There we go.
Hello all, this is Javikal Srinath, and as we all aware that October 10th is celebrated as a Mental Health Day.
The theme for the World Mental Health Day 2021 is mental health in an unequal world.
And one of the very important features of the World Mental Health Day is an effort to listen to people who had mental illness and to see what kind of needs they have and in what way we can be helpful.
Music is a powerful way to reach this message to the people. And this is what the team of Dr. John P. John and Sunil Koshi, along with others, have done through their mug-to-mic collaboration, Tum Hi Saath Rehna.
One of the greatest challenges we face globally is stigma. So we need to have something that will allow us to say, actually, I can be affected too. This song, this activity is one of that. It's very beautiful, well written.
This is a lovely musical video with a special message for everyone, especially in these times, to stay strong and together.
And you look at the song that has been done in a waltz, compelling rhythm. This lived experience that is spoken about in the song and the whole idea of equity in this unequal world is an evocative message, a compelling message to really provide services and reach those places where help, compassionate help, and assistance has not reached.
हद से ज्यादा जो बातें बिगड़ने लगे, हद से ज्यादा जो बातें बिगड़ने लगे, पल में मुश्किल जो राहों में मिलने लगे, एक बात कहना तुम्हें,
हो यूं ही साथ रहना मेरे, हद से ज्यादा जो बातें बिगड़ने लगे, पल में मुश्किल जो राहों में मिलने लगे, महसूस करके टुकड़ों में बिखर जाता हूँ मैं, लिए बोझ वो जिंदगी से सफर में पिछड़ जाता हूँ मैं, एक दिन पस्त हो जाऊँ तो तुम ही साथ रहना मेरे, एक दिन पस्त हो जाऊं तो तुम ही साथ रहना मेरे। अपनों के इल्जाम सुन के शर्म से ही डर जाता हूँ मैं, मशरूफ है दोस्त खुद में, तन्हाई से घिर जाता
वास्ते तुम ही साथ रहना मेरे मेरी परवाह के वास्ते तुम ही साथ रहना मेरे
दिलासा नहीं प्यार देना
अगर हो सके तो आवाज बन के तुम साथ देना उम्मीद है तुमसे ही तुम ही साथ रहना मेरे 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 तुम ही साथ रहना मेरे
I hope it reaches a wider audience and dispel a lot of myths associated with the problem and make people aware of the need for effective treatments which are available for mitigating the suffering associated with the illness.
The music video, Tum Hi Saath Rehna, resonates so beautifully with what we all want to achieve in mental health. A society free of stigma, mental health care that is accessible to all, and finally, support to everyone in the journey through mental illness to recovery.
My best wishes for the success of this initiative, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That was absolutely mesmerizing, and I congratulate Dr. John P. John and the team from Mug to Mike for that impressive collaboration, which talks about lived experiences of individuals with mental illness and how hope is ever building. And that is the only constant, the building of hope. I move on to the next part of today's program, which is about the poems which have been written by our junior resident who is pursuing her MD Psychiatry at NIMHANS, Dr. Malvika, and Dr. John P. John, who is a professor of psychiatry at NIMHANS. We all know that poetry is a painting painted by words, and poetry is but the rhythmical creation of beauty in words. We now request our chief guest, Mr. Javikal Srinath, to release the poems for public viewership for today's program.
I'd like to share with you a poem titled Mind on the Verge of Suicide. I see from afar this feeling called joy. I hope to feel it one day, but my heart gets a bit coy. Am I the only one who isn't enthusiastic? Are my insides made of plastic? I rattle my poor little brain. Tell me, did I ever feel it in the past? My black brain replies, things were always bad since I checked last. I'm frantic now. I ask it, not even when I was little? Was I meant to come here and suffer till my bones are brittle? It shrugs and deserts me. This emotion of joy seems to tease me, often provoke me, but always taunt me, because I never get to feel it. It's my fate to only see it. It's like the whole world is in color, and misery is my only lover, and everything turns black and white only for me. A sick, dull shade of grey is all that I see in me. I'm lonely, isolated, and in pain, in this persistent FOMO of missing this joy dream. Where is it that people fuel themselves with joy? How do they talk and never seem to cry? What do they eat to feel this hunger? Where do they sleep to have an uninterrupted slumber? How do they do these things? I'll never know. What a bummer. And since the whole world is a party, I was never invited to. It's not their fault. I'm sure this is fair. My staying makes the whole place worse, and I sore for them to watch. I hope to make some meaning out of this existence by staying away at a distance. I have an idea. It's an old one, I'll be honest. I wish to do them a favor and get out of their hair. Let me leave without saying goodbye, for I'm sure no one cares. But wait, I hear a cry inside of me. Beware, this part is relentless and uncouth. It's called a ray of hope. It asks me to inhale deeply and press pause. I'm angry as I want to end quickly. It's not a performance, I say. I don't want your applause. It tries to remind me of my family. I feel a tinge of regret. Maybe they had said they loved me. I'm not sure, I forget. It reminds me of my working body. Why this hope has an attitude. How dare it interrupt me and make me feel some gratitude. So what, I exclaim. Everybody is healthy. I'm the only one in pain. I know the game you're trying to play. I'm sick but not insane. It points to the thread of life and asks me to calm down and look closely. Everybody's not perfect. It says some ends are tied loosely. Yes, the whole world might be in multicolor, but don't you forget a shade called gray. There's a bit in you, a bit in everyone in some way. You see, life is like an ocean. Some tides are white, some blue, some are gay. But there's a reason for your rainy season. Why does the gray even exist? Oh, please ask me something else, I insist. Instead, ask, what is this pain trying to teach you? It's not an enemy trying to defeat you. It's a Lord disguised as trouble for you to learn and grow out of your ignorant bubble. Maybe there's something needing your attention, forgotten in the rut of life and the unnecessary tensions. Something that was dear to you, maybe even to the future you. If you feel stuck in a muddy pond, there's help available in the form of a wand. It could be a doctor, a talk, or a drug, an adventure, a change, or even just a hug. There's some help for everyone. This nightmare will be shorter. But first, take 2 steps back, sit down and take a sip of water. Take a deep breath and wipe that frown from your face. You're not alone in this. That can never be the case. Eat some food, even if it's hard. Call a friend or healer and lower down your guard. Smile, my dear, for the Lord is near. Help is right around the corner. I know it's hard. Just hang on a bit longer. But I am here now. It's not the end of your rope. I'm relentless, they say. But trust me, for my name is Hope. Thank you.
Minding and mending in an unequal world. In a world where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, where color, race, and power divide us and distance us, spare a moment to feel the torment that tears me apart, burdens my heart. The clouds of infirmity shroud my mind's sanity, dulling my senses, halting my progress. I feel ashamed and scared I'd be blamed by near ones, being the odd one. My friends are there, too busy to care. I feel lonely in life's dark alley. But I know this malaise is but a disease that has stricken my brain and made it frail. I know there are cures for all my cares that'll help me cope and foster hope. I seek your empathy, not sympathy. I seek acceptance, not advice. Hold my hand if you can. Accept me if you can. Speak for me if you will, and come out of my angst, I will.
Thank you, sir. It was amazing to see how the words that are written in poetry express so much more than what is just visible to the naked eye. And that is something which is similar with the mind. What is visible on the surface is just a fraction of what we know. But what is underneath those words or that mind is something we need to explore to really understand the meaning of an individual and the words being put across. So I thank both Dr. Malvika and Dr. John for their poems. And I hope that many people are encouraged to express themselves differently via different mediums of art by this. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Malvika. Now I request our distinguished chief guest, Mr. Javikal Srinath, former Indian cricketer and current ICC match referee, Arjuna awardee, and fondly known as the Mysore Express. He is also India's finest bowlers to address the gathering on this occasion.
Thanks, Dr. Prateek. Good morning here, good afternoon there. Dr. Pratima Murthy, Dr. Kiran, Dr. Janardhan, Dr. John, Dr. Som, all the faculties of NIMANS, Sunil Koshi and his team. Nice to be part of this initiative, talking about the mental health, propagating it, and also spreading it to the people. I think any amount of effort spent on this only reminds me that there is a lot more left to bring this mental awareness to the people. As we all know that mental illness pervades every walk of life, be it professional life, be it the family life, and even every individual. I think I might need to probably speak about two things where I was involved. Number one was my dad's Alzheimer's issue. I mean, he struggled with Alzheimer's for nearly 9 years rather. And I have seen him in every stage. Stage one was when we couldn't identify what he's suffering from. And that took almost a year for us to identify that there was an issue and we need to see a doctor. Now that was because of, we were ignorant of it. We were not aware that, he could have a mind disease. We went through it. It was in a way, it was a experience to understand how people go through once the mind deteriorates. The care and concern, no matter how much you give, you still feel it is short. I gained a lot in terms of experience in trying to handle him. I gave my best shot to look after my father. We lost him 3 years ago, but I think what he went through and all of it taught me a lesson. And I think that's one of the reasons why I also counsel in my own way about how to treat Alzheimer's patients and what to expect out of them. That's number one. Number two is about the sporting profession which I am in. At the moment, I'm still in a bubble. We are quarantined for 6 days, and I've been going through this from the last couple of years with this new pandemic in place. It's not easy. I think in my profession, I think there is a dire need of, the intervention of a sports psychologist that is coming from, from the Nimans and such places. We really, really need, I think, one of the things is about, the life in a bubble. I think I can write a book about it, how frustrating it could be and what goes in the mind, the kind of, some of the players lose their confidence. Isolation is not good. It's a bane and how to handle this. I think we need to come up with some solutions for this. I was the firm believer during my playing days about sports psychology, got some benefits in the later part of our year. We got a structured inputs into it. And I have seen how, young kids struggle in sports to understand life. And that's largely to do with their mind. I was fortunate enough during my administrative days in KSE, I took the help of Nimans, and I must thank Shekhar Sheshadri and Dr. Shekhar Sheshadri and Palami Sridhar, Palami Sudhir, who came and he volunteered their services to the game of cricket. One of the things that came out to me strongly was the codependency, issues, what is faced in cricket, where the behaviors of the players, how they copy the right and the wrong, and largely they copy the wrong things from their seniors. So, these kind of ideas, these kind of getting deeper into the minds of the kids to understand what they do and how they go about it, I think, sports psychology has the strength to sort it out. So what I would probably see in the future is that, the psychology itself, I think anything to do related with the mind, one is the mind illness and the other one is mind wellness. It has to be introduced as a syllabus at a very school level. I think that makes a big difference. Not necessary that somebody should be ill, but at the same time, somebody should be stronger in the mind. How do we really make them stronger and provide the best to the society? It comes with the mental well-being. I think Nimans is probably the best place to is the best place to do that research and then come out and contribute to the society at a certain level. I'm sure you're doing a great job. I've been a benefactor of Nimans in many ways. I can go on and on, but I think it's the wonderful awareness program which John P. John and Sunil has come out with. Many thanks trying to, harness the healing power of the music into the people. When I heard the song for the first time, there is a catchy thing in it. Hope we spread it again to bring this awareness in many. So I would like to thank everybody here for putting in their time and effort to promote the cause of mental illness. Wonderful initiative. I think, in the future, a lot of such things would happen. And, anytime if my services or my contemporaries who played with me would make a difference, feel free to ask us and we'll be there to help this cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was an honor for the entire participants who have joined us online and us here at Nimhans to hear you talk about such an important aspect of health, wherein you mentioned that physical and mental health cannot be seen in independent silos. They need to be integrated. You also highlighted the effect that COVID, isolation, quarantining, infection has on the health of individuals, especially sports persons when they're traveling abroad. As we had seen recently, a US Olympian had withdrawn from the Olympics on account of her mental health, because an individual can function only at their 100% when both their body and mind are working well. So thank you for highlighting the importance of psychological well-being in individuals. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Kiran Kumar PK, Professor of Psychiatry, AJ Medical College, Mangaluru, and the President of the IPS KC to address the gathering.
A very good afternoon to the esteemed Director of Nimans, Pratima Murthy, HOD of Psychiatry, Dr. Janardhan Reddy, my good friend, Dr. Suresh, Dr. John, Dr. Nagpal, and Mr. Sunil Koshi and team, and my friend, Dr. Somashekal Bijal, Secretary IPSKC. And all the dignitaries assembled here and all the delegates who have joined us online for today's program. It is indeed a profound delight to have our chief guest, the Mysore Express, Mr. Javikal Srinath, one of India's finest bowlers, amongst us today. It is commendable that a primary institution, Nimans, has emphasized the importance of role of music and poverty in creating awareness of mental health. Creative outlets can be extremely powerful to help with mental stress. As a society, we separate science from arts. It is high time we bridge this gap and bring them together to harness the power for good. We all gathered here today on the occasion of World Mental Health Day. with an objective of collectively raising awareness of mental health issues around the world as per the theme of this year, mental health in an unequal world. The theme is so apt, impressing on the need to focus sufficiently on health beyond physical in a world caught in pandemic struggle. Inequalities due to race and ethnicity, gender, like human development has an impact on one's mental health. Access to mental health services remains remains unequal, with marginally high percentage of people remaining in the low and middle income categories. The lack of funding in mental health remains disproportionate to overall health budget. The stigma attached to mental health causes a damaging ill-informed attitude, making it more difficult to pursue help. The best way to deal with the stigma is to acknowledge the facts for better understanding of mental health problems. Mental health and mental well-being is a part of 17 Sustainable Development Goals of 2030 agenda adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. It comes under SDG 3 that focuses on physical and mental health, that aims to reduce 1/3 premature mortality from non-communicable diseases through prevention, treatment, and promotion of mental well-being by 2030. Given the enormity of challenges ahead of us, it is right time to pledge and reimagine the approaches towards mental health care. Let us all join hands and lead the way to deliver people the mental health services that they need so much. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir, for your immensely important words, wherein you have talked about the novel barriers that are existent in a country like India, which belongs to the lower and middle income countries. And also you talked about the barriers that are present not just in the health provision front, but also the demand for help, because that can only come when an individual is aware about his or her mental health issues. So thank you, sir. And you also highlighted the international initiatives that have been taken to mitigate the treatment gap that exists in mental health. Thank you, sir, for that. Now we would be moving on to another interesting section of today's program, which is reading out selected chats from the chat box that have been put by our participants regarding today's program and the theme for this year's World Mental Health Day. So I will be initiating the same. We have a comment from Dr. Udit Panda, who has lauded the song that has been prepared by Nimhans and from Mug to Mike. And he is talking about the positive message on mental health that is to be available to one and all. He also talks about music being the language that connects everyone. And he also says that this year's theme of World Mental Health Day was aptly discussed in the song that has been made by a collaborative effort of the team. Dr. Bhavika thanks the team again for coming up with this novel way of striding towards mental health for all and making it a reality indeed. Dr. Harshita says that the song was extremely meaningful and also melodious. I would now hand over the program to Dr. Malvika to read out the remaining messages from the chat. Dr. Malvika, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Prateek. So Dr. Suhas mentions, he gives kudos to the teams for this excellent initiative. He says that music transcends all barriers and has an inherent power to heal, soothe, and motivate. And he says that I'm sure most of us have experienced the positive aspects of music in our own lives. And to use this powerful medium in mental health is commendable. Music therapy has been tried in mental illnesses, and this song will resonate in the minds of all the listeners. And you cannot imagine a better non-judgmental way to inspire hope in persons with mental illness and their caregivers. He also mentions that he doesn't agree with the comment that persons singing were amateurs. All the artists who have recorded the music video have excellent voices. Dr. Joanna is saying that it's a really beautiful way of commemorating this year's theme, and she congratulates the entire team. Then we have Dr. Rama Mami, who says that she remembers what Dr. CRC said yesterday at Samadhana, that pandemic has actually brought in the importance of the mental health, which is so right. And only now everyone is talking about at least depression. The stigma is still there, and thanks to Dr. CRC, the entire gamut of doctors in hands who are doing this wonderful job for making awareness about mental health public. And thanks a lot for this beautiful program. And she congratulates the whole team for making that beautiful song.
A lot of positive comments are also there regarding the two poems that were recited. Dr. John P. John's poem and Dr. Malvika's poem is also being appreciated for the theme and the artistic way and the intricate way in which they were able to express such sort of great topics to the general public, and the participants are vouching for such novel ways of expression regarding mental health to be further encouraged and made available for individuals to talk about their mental health concerns. So thank you, sir and Dr. Malvika, and thank you the team from Mug from Mike for your contributions, which have been really appreciated by everyone. We have another comment that has come from Kirti, and she talks about thanking NIMHANS for spearheading this noble cause relentlessly. And she thanks Dr. John and Mr. Sunil to choose music to spread the message. She's also thanking Dr. Malvika for her powerful poetry, and she was definitely touched and moved a lot. According to her, many like her have also been moved and touched by the art forms presented today. She thanks Srinath sir for the personal insights. Even celebrities face common man issues was a major takeaway that she felt, and she thanks again the team for their endeavors. We will be making these poems and song shortly available over our YouTube channel. So please give us some time to arrange and facilitate that. And this will be available for public viewership subsequently. Thank you for your patience. We now move on to the next section. And I would now like to request our Professor Dr. Pratima Murthy, Director of NIMHANS, to kindly deliver the presidential address.
Thank you, Pratik. I've been listening to this whole program with great interest. I think it really illustrates that music and perhaps poetry are the voice of the soul. And it's not, I mean, music in order to express emotions is not new to us because we hear so much in all our movies. There are so many songs which talk about emotions, sentiments, and so on. But I think what this brings in terms of a difference is that while it starts off really looking at the depths of feelings, the grays amidst the black, whites, and colors of moods, the sense of hopelessness and loneliness, and the fragility of the human condition that can get you down, it ends on a note of hope, compassion, and optimism. Whether it was the song so beautifully rendered by the Mark to Mike group, whether it was the poem on suicide by Malavika and the poem by John, I think it illustrates very importantly the need for people to reach out to one another. Mr. Javikal Srinath very nicely brought out two important aspects. The personal aspect of his own experience, the user experience in taking care of his father with dementia. And I think when our near and dear ones go through any kind of emotional, cognitive, behavioral, lifestyle changes, it is as disturbing to us as it is to the person experiencing those symptoms, because there is helplessness even among the persons who have to witness this close by. Greater, of course, is the distress when people do not talk about feeling distressed because of stigma, the belief of rejection, or the belief that people will not be empathetic. And this is true of the trice of day-to-day existence, or indeed if a person has a mental illness. In some ways, mental illness is itself very unequal. There are people who are at times much more distressed than others. There are situations where people can get distressed. And I think it's important to be sensitive to both. This morning, I was at a program where one of the very senior police officers was talking about the enormous amount of stress in the police service. Mr. Srinath was talking about the kinds of stress that sports persons face. So in some ways, every aspect of life, every professional life brings its own set of challenges. I remember the kind of stress our own residents went through during the COVID pandemic last year. And one of the outlets for that stress was using creativity, whether by music, whether by poetry, whether by painting, or any other form of art. So it's very, very important to have outlets to express your emotions. And I congratulate the team of John, Koshi, and all the other members of the group. It's not easy to bring out an album like this. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of coordination. So congratulations on taking a positive theme of what each one of us can do in terms of showing compassion, tolerance, and so on. And I want to congratulate specifically Malavika for a very evocative poem, and John as well, for just urging people to take a step back, that even in the depths of despair and hopelessness, if you bother to take a step back and review the whole thing, that when all the doors seem closed, something will be open. And I think I'd like to end on that note of hope being a driver for a lot of us, even in the depths of despair. And I hope this message is transmitted to everybody. It was wonderful to see messages from people like Dr. Norman Sartorius, Professor Mohan Isaac, Professor Raghuram, Professor Shekhar Sheshadri, the head of the department, Professor Janardhan Reddy, and many others. So I think it's the coming together, this melange of so many people coming together and hearing Mr. Javikal Srinath that inspires us that we're all in this together. And I think solutions also have to come out together. Once again, congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words. They mean a lot to us. And as you mentioned, COVID has been a difficult time for all of us, and it has adversely affected mental health in a major way. And recently we had our convocation yesterday, and I have just received my MD psychiatry degree. And I am actually one of students who completed their MD during the time of COVID. And I can vouch for what ma'am said, these little things that were done at the level of the department, encouraging art forms like music, paintings, literature, really used to be some things that we used to look forward to, because that was something that kept us going. And as ma'am said, that those were things that kept the hope building, because hope is the only thing that keeps the world running. If there is no hope, there will be no tomorrow. So thank you, ma'am, for your words. And also, I would now like to request Dr. Somsekhar Bijal, General Secretary of the IPSKC, to deliver the valedictory speech. Sir, please. Yes, thank you, sir.
Ellarigu namaskara. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose the vote of thanks on these occasions. It has been our pleasure to host this public engagement program on the occasion of World Mental Health Day, which is jointly organized by Department of Psychiatry in MAS Bangalore and Indian Psychiatric Society Karnataka chapter. As this year theme aptly said, mental health for all, let us make it a reality by WHO, and mental health in an unequal word together can make a difference as by the World Federation of Mental Health. Here, people from different areas of the life, like music, sports, medical professionals, and users have joined together to make it in a successful way. On this occasion, I sincerely thank our chief guest, Javikal Srinath, former cricketer and ICC match referee, Arjun Awardee, for kindly accepting our invitation and gracing this function and launching the musical video given by Sunilji and John team. This music definitely, I know that will create a magic in creating an awareness among the community. I thank you, sir. Thank you very much on behalf of Indian Psychiatric Society, Karnataka chapter and Finance Bank. I thank our President, Dr. Kiran Kumar PK, President of IPSKC, for being with us in this function and giving a valuable inputs to the how to take out the mental health care into the community and what are the responsibility of the government and as well as the various stakeholders in this. Thank you, Dr. PK Kiran Kumar. I thank the chairperson of today's function, that is president of the function, Dr. Pratima Murthy, my teacher and director of the NIMAS Bangalore, for presiding over this function. Thank you, madam. My special thanks to my teacher, Dr. John P. John, who were all unaware about his music talents. Definitely, sir, you have given us such a you have such a beautiful voice, and also the way you
While Dr. Somshekhar comes on, I wanted to add that the last and final message from Professor Prabha Chandra on reduction of stigma and the importance of providing help was indeed a very powerful message. And I also wanted to congratulate the telemedicine department for putting it all together. Over to you, Som. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I thank Mr. Sunil Koshi and co-founder from the Mug to Mic and his colleagues, Archana Madam, and all the singers for giving us such a melodious tune, which I think the whole community will remember, and definitely this will create a magic and in creating the mental health awareness among the community. So I thank the young talent, Malavika Nagpur, who's beautifully written a poem on suicide prevention and the ray of hope. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. So I take this opportunity to thank all the faculty, students, staff of NIMANS, and members of the Indian Psychiatric Society Karnataka chapter, public, user group, viewers, and media friends for their participation and making a togetherness in taking mental health care to the community. My special thanks to go to all the people who gave their precious time in organizing this function, in particular, Dr. B.M. Suresh, Dr. John P. John, Dr. Sri Naveen Kumar, Dr. Pratik, and all the telemedicine and Department of Psychiatry demands. I, on behalf of Indian Psychiatric Society, personally, and on behalf of President and all the members, I thank Team NIMANS for giving us an opportunity to join the hands in this auspicious event of creating the mental health awareness. I once again thank everyone whose contributions have made this public engagement program a successful one. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that. I do firmly believe in the fact that medicine is a stream that lies at the crossroads of art and science. In fact, the places where we do operative surgeries are actually known as operation theaters. The word theater itself highlights that medicine is at the crossroads of art and science. So today's program was indeed important to highlight the role of art forms like poetry and music in creating awareness and acting as vehicles of change in our fight in positive mental health. And as we saw today, the expression of poetry and music can go a long way in mitigating stigmas and barriers to not only seeking health and seeking help, but also in provision of healthcare in these forms. So I congratulate all the participants for their patient listening and active participation. I thank all the dignitaries for their valuable time and their words of wisdom. And I hope that the music never dies and music continues. And if music can help someone or poetry can help someone, then why not think about it on a more broader perspective and try to integrate it with the modern medical science system. So I thank you all for your participation. And with that, we will end the program. I would also like to reiterate that the poetry recited and the song released today will shortly be available over YouTube for viewership and sharing. So I encourage all of you to kindly do the same, share this message, spread the word, and even if a single individual is able to seek help on account of this, that would be a major achievement, and that would help us in realizing the goal for mental health for all and making it a reality. So thank you and have a good day.